minutes to get that read aloud. I know that because we're being acted every year if I'm working at the jail. Now we've got fired up Philadelphians out there. Some of them got in here up there. Crest of the coat of arms of George III to indicate that while the colony had a good amount of practical power to itself, there be no doubt if desired the King of Great Britain, his agents, and or Parliament in London could express their authority here. Seeing that having heard the information outside, the thought was around, there's going to be a big change in the nature of that relationship is there. Climb up, chop the crest off, parade it around town, it ends up the evening on a bonfire. So, goodbye to that. No mistake. Text got everybody excited. Sounds like the Patriots had George III standing trial in a prisoner's dock, and they're bringing evidence against him. This court's open to the public. Their courtrooms like it all through the colonies. Most colonists at least thought they knew a good argument when they heard it. Also gets to the idea that the Patriots did not think the whole British system was rotten and should be trashed. Unlike, say, 1789 French revolutionaries who did think that about their country's government. Here the idea was that the British system has some pretty good points to it, doesn't it? Hundreds of years of tradition, running debate that had been going for decades, and it still happens on both sides of the Atlantic about the nature of the core ideas. What's liberty? What's justice? Problem. Way too ambitious activities of the Crown and Parliament had corrupted the system and got the balance of power out of balance. Balance as an idea is all over the place at the time, including the buildings. Three windows, door over there up front on one side that goes outside. There's a doorknob, and the door over there goes absolutely nowhere. It's only here to keep the wall even as part of the Georgian style architecture, named by no accident after the kings of Great Britain, named George. Anything in here you want to question about, or perhaps the original pumpkin colored paint? I think as far as the curators may ever know, in the 18th century, this pumpkin was the original color of the room. The furniture is of the time. Looks like what was here. We just can't tell you exactly what was here. Except the painting up there is from 1785. It's the crest of the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania. Two horses flanking what a little bit of optimism purports to be either an eagle or a phoenix, but in their being condition, looks more like a bug. Perhaps explaining why the man who painted it wasn't paid for it, but that's another story. Got the signing room available. I turn around and head on over where the country got going. signed in here, 1775, in the room. Instead of delegates elected in from counties, there are delegates in here from colonies to a continental congress. That year, at least in part, they're still trying to get their rights as loyal subjects. Early in 1776, a printer about 4 blocks that way, the first man who printed up the pamphlet Common Sense, written by House of Spain, yeah. Main idea in it, you never get liberty as second-class citizens under a king 3,000 miles away. Made no sense at all for a continent to be ruled by an island. By mid-spring, the pamphlet had sold so well that Congress knows they have a lot of popular support for independence. Hence, they get a number of committees going to work out the nuts and bolts of making that happen. One of the committees, 5 people, that included Thomas Jefferson, to write a text for a declaration. Jefferson wrenched room space, and he drafted away for 17 days, end of June. The first week in July, here, Tuesday, vote to break away from Great Britain. Wednesday, as it had been on and off for, about 6 days, the text of the declarations debated. The text was then approved on Thursday, 4th of July. It's printed up Thursday night into Friday. Where it is? Here we go. There are perhaps 200 or 300 copies of it in a first print run. Out they go, putting newspapers, red and so on. At the top, they've all got the day, July 4. Even though the vote is 2 days before, these get out there and everything about independence is tied to the day. But I've got a thought that none of you would, upon first or second or third consideration, think of the Declaration looking anything like this. What you know it from, the handwriting of a clerk by the name of Timothy Matlack. He's hired to prepare a formal version, signed in here the 2nd of August. That's in the National Archives. So if you're from around the District of Columbia, you're going to Washington, D.C. today, you were there yesterday, it's Mr. Matlack's writing. It was signed August. It's dated the 4th of July, like the printed versions of we're looking at. Once this gets done, the next 12 years, Delaware had a navy. Some idea, if a political body has a navy, they're basically a country. Though North Carolina had their own money, and so did New Hampshire. So they really are like little countries. They decide to run relations with European governments and a war effort as a group when Ben Franklin arrives in Paris, 3rd week December of 76, to get money and arms, not only from the French, but also the Spanish. He is representing Congress of the United States. The arrangement ends up on a few pieces of printed paper. The Articles of Confederation and Perpetual Union. Turned out to be a little optimistic. To be thinking of the Confederation as being perpetual. It didn't just keep on going. It happens a lot in history, and it happened then. It came down to the money. The states' assemblies kept the power to tax to themselves. Thank you. Made sense to them. The assemblies are all elected. The assemblies would then vote donation money to the Confederation government, not with much enthusiasm. But as long as the focus is around, we're not getting very far here if we don't win the fighting first, are we? A little money would go in. Well, the last battle was 1781. A peace treaty's done by 83. There went the focus, and the donation flow went with it. The result, 10th anniversary year of the Declaration of Independence. By 1786, the Confederation government was meeting in Lower Manhattan, New York City. They're broke. And that's one reason amongst a few. Back in here, by the end of May in 1787, there are enough delegates to get things going. And even though some of those delegates, they really thought we're going to Philadelphia, we're going to kind of tinker with the Confederation, set up the states keep most power. And that's the group that through the summer puts together the same Constitution that's still used. The three-branch pattern made good enough sense to keep executive, judicial, legislative. Start power with citizen, hence we the people, the front of the preamble. Power is delegated up to a government. Abuse of power. The men in here had enough awareness of human nature, be it from studying politics, much of the inheritance of the Judeo-Christian religious traditions, Macbeth. George Washington, who's in charge of it, had a noted appreciation of, amongst other things, the history and tragedy plays of William Shakespeare. And those plays, along with these other things, you'll find out what happens when somebody wants power now. They'll start killing their relatives, betraying lifelong friendships, and or they just get an army troop ready to go, and the troop would go right to a capital city overnight. Power grabs inevitably are quick, aggressive, and sometimes they do end up in a mess. In contrast, when it comes to speed, all the way through United States history, under the process of checks and balances, the United States government can often run notably slow, and this gets frustrating as anything. I go with an idea. If you could think about that in here, the consensus reply would have been, well, thank you. You better hope that by balancing and checking powers, you'll yield a functioning government that hopes to weed out a decent percent of power grabs as it works. Get the text set. Signed up here September 17th, 1787. In that original chair, George Washington, he's in charge of the group that creates the job of president. He'd serve as in 2 years. Anybody know where I'm about to go with this? Yeah, Ben Franklin was overheard saying that he'd often looked at the half sun on the chair and wondered if it was a rising or a setting sun, and at length had the happiness to call it a rising and not a setting sun. Eventually, the chair picks up the name. However, when we got the reproduction here, it's a lot easier to highlight. The chair was made by and for patriots. 13 half-rays topped by a liberty cap. And especially since we got this, I've been putting the idea out to visitors. When you visit other sites that commemorate the founding time period, look around for 13s, especially with a sort of nod to the heritage of the Romans. Engravings of Roman-style temples with 13 columns on them. You get a whole lot of items produced that literally get the ideas the country is founded on in front of the public. Now, briefly and lastly, back to that Lafayette return visit. Amongst the entourage was a woman from Scotland named Frances Wright, W-R-I-G-H-T, who's giving public lectures. That's a bit of a hoop for a woman to be doing that at the time. It gets better. She's suggesting it might be good if someday in the United States women got the right to vote. 1824-25 Americans got to hear that. Takes well on 100 years to get the change through. It though gets to the idea. We've always had a tension in United States history between thinking the government's got enough structure to function and having individuals and groups take a look at the powerful ideas in the first couple paragraphs of the text we're founded on. All men are created equal, we the people. Wait a second here. I or we feel we don't get full liberty, participation, justice here now. They agitate, sometimes with no apology, cantankerously, loudly. Then they'll often think out how to use the constitutional structure of the government to get to the access to the liberties and justices they want, and these all go back to the ideas of the text signed in here is the room the United States starts in. Now, anything in here you have a question about, or anything I've maybe been standing under some of the time, but yeah. The writing piece was made in 1745. It's been in this room since 1976. It was put in for the bicentenary of the Declaration to get something in here appropriate to when the building was easily done, as opposed to the notably Victorian piece that it replaced. Before it had been put in for the Lafayette. Then it got added on to, and that one got rigged for gas lamp by the 1840s. It was electrified for 1876. By 1948, when this became a national park site, it was Victorian. So the decision was gradually made and then done to take that out and go get this. So, anything else? Okay, well, thanks for your time. Enjoy the rest of the day out there. It's about as good as a day as we'll get around here. It's pretty good out there. So just turn around, head out to the left, and have a good visit.
What did you say that George